All right, House of Payne fans, hope everybody's doing well. This is my review for House of Payne, Season 10, Episode 13, entitled Home Invaders. And well, to be completely honest, the promo just told you what the bulk of the episode consisted of, and that's the fact that termites were wreaking havoc in Ella and Curtis's home, and they have to move out. So I've been speaking, it is Friday when I'm recording this, so I have spoken with some people about the episode itself, what they thought about it, and some people thought that it was a good episode despite how some characters were acting, because it, they thought it was good. Personally, not only did I dislike the episode, but it felt completely out of place given the fact that we're past, if not at the halfway point of this season, and season 10 has been so good so far, aside from the game night episode and the bearer of bad news. Basically the episodes where Miranda regressed in character, where season 10 for the most part she's been pretty good as a character. I'm glad she's still around. Even the one episode where she wanted to get a gun for her own protection, Calvin wasn't for that, but when it was broken down, it's like, well, look, it's the fact that you say you'll be there for us whenever we need it, but what about when you're not around? What if somebody, comes after me and our son at nighttime or something like that? And Calvin is like, yeah, you know what, you're right. But then Miranda, has been acting selfish and whatnot. And then you get to this episode. This not only felt like a season 9 episode, but like I said before, it felt completely out of place. And I wondered what was going on. So I was told this, but I'm like, no way. But then I looked it up. Tyler Perry wrote this episode himself, and that explains a lot. This is like All the Queen's Men season 1. There was the one episode, I think it was like 8 or 9. It was one of the later episodes of season 1, because All the Queen's Men was 10 episodes. Basically, there was that one episode that just felt completely out of place. Like, the writing wasn't that great in terms of the dialogue. It felt like a lot of characters are making dumb decisions that, based on the previous episodes, they wouldn't make. This felt the same way, because it seemed like, how I always say in Sisters, one of the biggest things I don't like is the fact that characters seem to regress a lot. That's exactly how I felt watching this episode, because there were so many things going on, mainly the Malik and Lisa plot, that made zero sense. So personally, I give this episode a 3 out of 10. If you disagree, I completely understand. But in my opinion, it wasn't that great. But before moving forward in the video itself, make sure you take a moment to hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Also, hit subscribe, as we're getting closer to 190,000 subscribers. Last time I checked, we are less than 1,500 people away from hitting that goal. Also, hit the bell icon and select all. That way you don't miss out when I post content on the channel. We're doing great with the subscriber watch time. We are at about 37% now of subscribers watching the content. So if you are a non-subscriber, there's still over 60% of you who are. If you hit subscribe, that would help the channel go a long way. We will go way above 200,000 subscribers, and it will look good on the channel overall. And to round things out, if you want to follow me on social media, links are in the description below. So Ella's cooking in the kitchen, and she realizes that things are falling apart. I think she reaches for one of the cabinet doors, and she's calling for Floyd to help her out. He's chilling in the backyard. He got his feet waiting in the pool, waiting in the water. He got, I don't know what you call him, but is it like a sun shield or something? Basically, it's what people use when they're trying to, get a tan or something like that. So, apparently, Curtis is actually gone. And he mentions, yeah, this is the burden of self-employment. You gotta relax sometimes. And as somebody who's been riding the self-employment train for 4 years, I can definitely relate to what Floyd is saying, because it's the thing about people who are self-employed versus people who work traditional jobs. Sometimes you're just chilling, but you're still working, because let's say you just posted something on social media to promote your video or your business. You get to relax. You're not working 9 to 5 around the clock except on lunch. So she mentions well, you know what, you're a black owned business. That means you need to be professional at all times. You got to be better than normal, which is true, but at the same time, you can't walk around with your stick up your butt all the time. You got to relax or you're going to drive yourself nuts. But essentially, she wants him to come inside to see what she just, experienced, and he obviously doesn't want to do it. It's the equivalent of, you being at home and your mom or somebody says, "Hey, Jeremy, get up. Look, come look at this. Look at this. What is, you think something wrong? Can you pass me the remote?" What? But basically, he doesn't think it's termite damage because instead of calling a professional to actually examine the house to make sure there's no, pest or any kind of termites, he and Curtis did it himself. According to Ella, they just both walked around with some bug spray, but that didn't take care of the internal issues going on. So Ella's like, you know what? I'm going to call a professional, and Floyd doesn't want to do it, thinking that's just going to be too darn expensive. So he leaves. He opens the fence door and it falls off, and out of nowhere we see like these CGI black termite specks all over the place. Now, knock on wood, but I don't think these walls in the trailer here are made of like real wood. We got paneling. We've never had a termite issue, so I wouldn't know what a termite issue would look like in terms of first-hand experience. But dude, would termites like seemingly swarm like this? Like, I live in Southern Virginia. For the past 2 days, not the past 2 days, but 2 days so far this week, we've dealt with the ladybug swarm. So, I mean, I don't think termites would engulf a house the same way ladybugs engulfed our house here. But, yeah, I'm just going to roll with it. Termites are causing a lot of damage. So, but since Curtis is gone, I'm just going to assume this is pertaining to the barbecue business, like he's out promoting it or something along those lines. So that explains why he's not around in this episode. So we go over to CJ's house, and Lisa comes downstairs saying, "I want a coolant in here. I'm baking. I'm pregnant." She's just flaunting her pregnancy to be a brat. That's essentially what's going on. Not only does she want the temperature lower than 70, which is what CJ wants to keep it, because of the fact that, well, nobody is chipping in on the bills or giving tips. This ain't the club, so we keep it at a moderate 70 to conserve energy. Not only that, it turns out Lisa takes about 45-minute showers, which runs the hot water out for everybody else. And CJ said that one day Janine had to work 3 days straight, came home, and there was no hot water. So, yeah. And trust me, my roommate up in Lynchburg, he was that kind of person that would take showers for long periods of time. And we both had our own bathrooms, but remember, the same apartment. So I never took showers when he did, just because of the fact that I know hot water would run out very quickly. That's one reason I'm glad I'm not in that apartment anymore. So yeah, 45-minute showers, and she's just completely inconsiderate. And I'll talk about this more towards the end, end of the review. I'll review the episodes and I give my overall thoughts. This is extreme regression because the Lisa at the beginning of the season 2, for one, felt like a completely new person, but at the same time, it definitely felt like the family was warming up to her. But now it just seems like we're back at square one yet again. So from there, CJ tells Malik to handle the Lisa situation while he goes to work. And, make sure your mama don't find out that Lisa's been the one running out the hot water. So instead of talking to Lisa, not even 30 seconds after CJ goes through the door, Malik just kind of stares. Lisa stretched out on the sofa. He just leaves. Just leaves. And he goes over to talk to Ella. And Ella's on the phone with the exterminator to come over to make sure everything can be handled with the termites. So she even scolds Malik for not knocking at the door, which I'm thinking to myself, 90% of the time Ella just opens up a door and goes hooty hoo, and then that's it, making her announcement. Well, then there are other times where, how a lot of people do, they'll knock but then open in the same motion. It's like, they say, "Hey, what you do?" Is like, why did you knock? And then no, you need to knock at least once or twice and then open the door. You just open the door, knock the door as you're opening it. That's not the same thing. Hooty hoo. And I bring that up due to the fact that it's a running thing in a lot of these Tyler Perry shows where a person or persons won't knock on the door. Not only that, the person in the house doesn't even lock it. It's just like, what the hell's going on? So she gets off the phone, and Malik wants Ella to tell Lisa for him not to basically stop being her in considering all these things. So it's driving everyone crazy. Floyd tells him that all women are crazy, and then goes into his whole thing about his experience with a woman like Lisa. And it's the fact that, you know what, put an apple in her mouth. You know, given the fact that the girl I talked to had teeth like a horse, you know, put an apple in her mouth, she wasn't really going to talk. So they just say, look, just go over there, handle your business, talk to Lisa. I mean, hell, even Elle's like, haha, that's what you get. And I'm like, I hate when people do that. That's the older generation. It's like, they don't want to hear that when they mess up, but it's like, they want to throw it in your face. Ha, that's what you get for knocking that girl up. Haha. And it's like, thanks, I came to you for help. And okay, so he goes over to the house, and we'll get to that scene in a moment. But Ella says the inspector's in the kitchen. We never see this inspector. And this scene, yeah, it really wasn't much. Floyd just goes on and on and on about how it would be cheaper if he could do it himself, and the fact that it will burn up, you know, all her little money, or because there's only going to be a little bit of money left. But I'm with Ella on this one. It's like, if I don't care if they charge extra, but I want it done right. And hey, you can't argue with that. So she sends Floyd home, and strangely enough, Floyd comes back the same day. I don't know. I know he leaves with a bowl of chips, but he comes back pretty soon. So Malik goes back to the house. He has a bag, and I'm thinking, I wonder what's in the bag. And we find out it was an apple. So Lisa's on the phone, and Malik's like, hey, can I talk to you? And she's just rude. And this goes back to season 9, where I didn't like it, where Malik is the one who's actually trying to be mature. He's trying to compromise, but Lisa is just ratchet, jumps to conclusions, and they can't even have a simple conversation. So as soon as she gets off the phone, again, it's like, you know what, you're rude. And she thinks that Malik is trying to kick her out, and it's like, you know what, my mama told me not to trust short people. And it's like, you want this? How you want me? Yeah, on the street, barefoot and pregnant. And it's funny because she kicked her slippers off, and I'm a smart ass. I would have said, well, technically you're not barefoot because you still got your woolly socks on. But anyway, she is just trying to say, like, look, this is a new thing for us. You know, we're still trying to get adjusted to living with another person or other people. And she's like, oh no, this is my first time. Wait, what do you mean? I think she says something like, I've lived with 2 or 3 other men before. And I think by that she means, like, I've lived with, you know, this guy, this guy, this guy. But I've never stayed with anybody who still lives at home with his parents, who doesn't have a job, who doesn't have a car, who doesn't have money. And he can't even really talk. He's just trying to say that we need to adjust to each other, but, you know, mainly just take advantage of my parents. We need to, you know, adjust to it. You can't just stay in here rent free and then make all these demands. So she just flies off the handle, goes upstairs, because he even's like, wow, I learned something new about you every day. It's like, yeah, so do I about you. And that's about it. She just rushes upstairs. So we go back to Ella's house, and like I said, Floyd magically returns. And it turns out that Ella's going to get a 10% senior discount for the termite repairs. It seems like not only are they in the kitchen, but they actually have a termite nest in the attic that needs to be taken care of, because this can even ruin the roof. So she actually needs to be somewhere for 2 weeks. And, you know, Floyd is a no-no. So she just says, I'll go to CJ and Janine's. And okay. And we go back to CJ's place, and Malik is in the kitchen, like, practicing how he's going to tell off Lisa. But then CJ comes in, and what about y'all move out? Oh, hey, Dad. And, you know, he pretty much has this discussion about, you know, the situation. Look, your mother and I were talking about possibly giving you some sort of loan so that you and, you know, your girl can move out, you know, because the house is cramped, and it's just the fact that she's driving you crazy. And now it's an issue we all have to deal with because it's driving us crazy. And it turns out Malik is like, no, I don't think so, Dad. It's like, what are you talking about? I don't want to be alone with her. It's just like, she's driving me crazy, and I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have anybody else to talk to. This is so immature of Malik. He's acting like a spoiled brat, and I hate it because I just did not like how this episode was written at all for these characters. But Malik only knew her a few hours before they hooked up, hence why they barely know each other, which seems incredibly inconsistent given that she's so far along in the pregnancy, yet these two haven't really had a conversation, which really goes against much of the season 2 dynamic between him and Lisa, where, you know, he's fixing food for her or she's fixing food for him. They're sitting at the dinner table talking. I don't know what's going on. Who are these people? I feel like Patrick, who are you people? But from there, yeah, CJ's like, you know what, you need to get this situation dealt with so we don't all have to deal with it. And it just seems like CJ and Janine still aren't fine. Well, Janine is just constantly mentioned as being at work because we know the actress is working on other projects, so let's just forget about Janine. It just seems like there's been no growth between, you know, CJ and Lisa at all. It's just sad. I mean, obviously, you know, they had the episode recently where he accused her of cheating on Malik, and that felt like he would get some character growth, but yet again, it's like, she driving everybody crazy. So, Ella does her thing where she knocks and immediately opens the door and goes, hooty hoo. And then out of nowhere, she has like a bag of groceries and a large suitcase of luggage. And, you know, she pretty much announces, you know, hey, I got a termite issue and I'm going to be staying here for 2 weeks. And out of nowhere, she starts saying, okay, I got to get rid of this. So she's removing the food from CJ's fridge to put her stuff in there. And then he's like, well, I need to talk to Gina. It's like, I know you're not about to say you need to talk to Janine, not after everything I've done for you two. And then after that, he's like, well, you can stay in Jasmine's room. Oh, you know that bed's too small for me. We can get the air mattress and you can stay there. Oh, no, I'm going to be sleeping in your... Oh, yeah, that's perfect for you and Janine. I'm going to be sleeping in your room. Change the sheets. And then Malik comes in. Hey, what's going on? CJ lets him know what's happening. It's like, oh, yeah, this is getting worse and worse. And then she's like, I heard that. Oh, yeah, I'm going to cook dinner. And that's the end of the episode. I did not like this episode at all. I mean, I think a 3 honestly is too high of a score. And the only reason I gave it like a 3 is because I thought Floyd was funny as hell. I was reading on Twitter and some people were talking to me. It's like, I know that Floyd is supposed to be the replacement Curtis, but damn, the way he hangs out at Ella's house all the time, you'd almost say that he was the substitute husband helping around the house all the time. He's there with Ella. Hell, I'm here for it. I laughed my ass off. That was a funny comment. But again, this just seemed completely out of place. I mean, you could argue that this episode was aired out of order, but Lisa really hasn't acted the way she acted in this episode since season 9. Sure, she had her moments here and there earlier in the season, but it was never this bad. And yeah, I know, like, you know, hormones and everything, but she was obnoxious. She was selfish. And look, I know Janine hasn't been on screen, but I'm pretty damn sure she would have put her foot down about how Lisa is just, you know, well, Ella's not doing any better, making demands without paying any sort of rent or doing any work around the house. Not to mention, I mean, I know she said she got her bills and whatnot, but where's her money going? I mean, well, to be fair, at least she's working. Malik still isn't working. He has no job, even though in season 9, CJ was like, I got a job lined up for you. Like, you're going to school and whatnot, but, you know, you got to make money so you can move out. I have no idea what's going on. And given the fact that CJ said that Ella could take Jasmine's room, I feel like that's confirmation that Jasmine is not only in college, but she's staying on campus, which explains why Ella could have had a room for 2 weeks. So there's that. And then with the Ella thing, a lot of people online were like, yeah, you know what, Ella, darn right she going to stay there after all she did for CJ and Janine. The way she went about it was completely... She's right in saying, after all I've done for you, but she was wrong in how she did it. She just barged into the house and said, oh yeah, I'm staying here. Now, don't get me wrong. If it was Curtis, this would not be out of character at all. But for Ella, this was awful. which really is sad because of last week where, you know, as a life coach, you know, she felt like her quote unquote students had to do exactly what her advice was, but then she got a taste of humble pie when she realized, oh, they didn't want me to be a life coach. They suggested I take the classes myself, and really, I fell in love with the idea of being a life coach as opposed to actually being an effective life coach. And then on top of that, Ella, you have a son. Why don't you stay with Calvin for 2 weeks? Better yet, like I said, you could even ask CJ. It's like, hey, can I stay a week with you? Like, I'll stay a week with Calvin at his loft, and then I'll stay a week with, you know, you in your house just until, you know, the whole house and termite situation is done. This was not a good look for Ella at all. And trust him, Lee, this was realistic. You know how older people are, where they just are imposing, where they just come in and make demands. Especially like, you know what, I did all this for you. The hell if you're going to like make any second guesses about me. But this, no, I was not a fan of this at all. But overall, this episode definitely skippable. Like, it just didn't do it for me. The writing needs to be more on point. It definitely did not flow with the rest of the season. I feel like when we get to episode, episode 14 next week, if it's not written by Tyler Perry, it's probably going to feel completely different. But that's just my opinion. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like I said before, the biggest thing for me was the Lisa thing, where all this time and Malik still doesn't quote unquote know her. I guess the lesson is obviously get to know someone before you have unprotected sex, first of all. But even more importantly, you know, just don't be sleeping around if you have no intention of getting involved with somebody emotionally, not just physically, especially when there's a baby on the way, because now people are wondering whether or not it really is Malik's baby, because this episode had even more suspicious activity. Like, wait a minute, what's the time frame of when she stayed with these 2 or 3 other guys? Like, it just isn't a good look. So yeah, this episode is a thumbs down for me. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you want to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App.